Hi everyone. So this is the second of the live films that we're doing for Doors Open Day, and so this time I'd like to introduce you to Catherine, who is our trainee archivist in Skye and Lochalsh. And what we're going to do is have a chat with Catherine. I'm going to share my screen in a second so that you can see some things from the collections in Skye and Lochalsh, and we'll chat a bit about what Catherine does. So I'll let you say hello, Catherine, before I talk over you anymore.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the trainee archivist over in Skye, so I cover the Skye and Lochalsh area, our archive centre, which is based in Portree.
Thank you very much. Okay, fab. I'm going to just open up this presentation. How's that? Can you see that now?
Yep.
Awesome. So, as the title suggests, what we've already covered. So this is our Doors Open Day interview. As any of you will know who usually come to our Doors Open Day in Inverness at the Highland Archive Centre, we usually have about 200 people in, and obviously we're not going to advocate that at the moment. So what we're trying to do instead is do some remote interviews, some insights into different roles within our organisation, and also introduce you to some of the staff across the other offices, because any of you who've been watching Learn with Lorna will be used to seeing my face, but it's good to see some of the other faces who know more about their collections in their areas. So today we're talking to Catherine. So you'll maybe be familiar, if you've heard me talking before, that we have the 4 offices in the Highland Archive Service. So the Highland Archive Centre in Inverness, Nucleus up in Wick, Skye and Lochalsh in Portree, and Lochaber in Fort William. And today we're going over to Portree to speak to Catherine. So this is our favourite picture of Catherine on the left-hand side as I'm looking at it. As I said, Catherine's our trainee archivist. When we put this picture up on social media a wee while ago, it was one of our highest, most loved images of all time. Everybody loves Catherine's shoes and general style. And then on the other side of the picture, you can see there Anne Beaton, who is the archive assistant in Portree. So we're only going to be talking to Catherine today, but it's just so that you can see Anne's face as well, and she's in the loop. So Catherine, one of the things I want to ask you, how did you get into working in archives and why?
Good question. I was looking for a career change, and I wanted to find something where I could continue to learn, also enjoy history, and that's what I found so appealing. So I think my position is quite unique here. I get to share my love of my own culture, the history of Skye and Lochalsh and the Highlands with others, but also being an archivist allows me to protect and build collections for future generations.
I think that's something quite a lot of people are quite envious of. Whenever we post about our roles, people always say, oh, I'd love to do that. A mixture of saving things and protecting them and sharing a love of history and culture. And I know that's something you're really passionate about, the story of Skye and the people who have lived there.
Yeah, I think it's,
and become the history of the place.
Yeah, it's just holding that piece of history in your hands when you open up that box, thinking about what that person's created, what it meant to them. Even each little individual document's got its own wee story, so it's quite good discovering those and learning about them as we kind of go along.
That is one of my absolute favourite things, having a connection to the person that wrote something, what they were thinking at the time, where they were, what the room looked like, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So this is where you're based, our beautiful archive centre in Skye and Lochalsh in Portree. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the building and where it is?
Okay, so we are situated in the Elgin Hostel in Portree. So this used to be, still is actually, a residence for pupils at the high school. So the little round turret building, that's where you would come as a user and sit and get access to the room. That's it there. It's a fantastic room. It's a great room to sit in, really open, really calm, great space to come in and kind of see everything. So we're very fortunate. We're right next door to the library and leisure services that we offer as well. So network of team.
Yeah, and a lot of Highland colleagues nearby.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely welcoming room. We always think that it's a really special, nice space for people to work in.
Yeah.
So this is how it looks normally.
Yeah.
She says pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us about some of the things that you would normally be doing in Skye and Lochalsh?
So that picture there, for example, we run classes. That's one that's been running for quite a while now, called Where Do You Stay? So it's like an introduction class where you come and learn about archives, what resources we've got. We also have school groups that come in and visit. So all the kind of smaller communities within the island, or some of them there, come in, and that can be anything, just about learning about where they live locally, to popping in, seeing an exhibition. And they get quite a mixture because we've got quite a different collection compared to some other archives. They can have quite a mixture, so it kind of suits all ages. So it's good, and obviously we've got visitors that are coming to the Highlands come in and see us as well.
And that image there was from a big World War I exhibition you had, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was a big travelling exhibition we had as well. I think it went over to Razzie as well, is my understanding. But that one, very popular. It had a lot of visitors coming in and lots of input from various collections went into that. You can see on the panels behind all the extracts that were added in, letters, images, and local history for people as well, kind of oral history.
Yeah, because of course we've just come out of that sort of 4 years of commemorating the First World War.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of events across all the offices, but yeah, particularly that exhibition in Skye was well received. It's interesting there hearing you talking about Razzie and the smaller communities within Skye and Lochalsh, and I think we have that particularly in Highland because of the geographical spread. That we're always trying here in Inverness, trying not to be Inverness centric, and you're always trying not to be Portree centric. We're always trying to make sure that the communities that we cover are included and know about the resources we hold.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. So do you want to tell us about some of the collections that you have? I know we've already touched on the fact that they're slightly different in some ways from normal archive collections.
Yeah, we've got quite unique collections. So Skye and Lochalsh Archive Centre in a previous life was under Museum Services. So we've got a collection of archaeology. So we've got artefacts, items in there. There's things from arrowheads to like an 8th century Viking belt brooch. There's such a wide range. Yeah. That
was used in exhibitions and things recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did a project with the Archaeology Week. So we had a small pop-up event on for October last year where we showcased that. So that was really good. Got a lot of people coming in who might not ordinarily come into an archive centre, but because it was Archaeology Week, we had a different group come in. Very popular collection with younger school kids, things like the axe heads, arrowheads, kind of guessing dates on when they and where they came from on Skye as well is always good.
Yeah, and Highland Archaeology Festival is something we're all the offices try to be involved in a little bit where we can. As you say, it's kind of not what our prime collections are, but we do have things that tie in, even if that's maps or historical dig notes and things like that, with things across the offices.
Yeah, we've also got within the previous museum collection, there's a selection of rare books, lots of Gaelic literature as well, which is all available for people. There is also a painting and prints collection. I know Lorna's got a favourite within there herself. So we've got that as well, which is fantastic. It's another way we've got an exhibition space, so we can quite often showcase some of these collections that are a little bit different from archives as well. But a great resource, fortunate to have it. School groups benefit from it a lot because we can show things that have been found in their area and digs and intersect that with the state papers and maps to show them where these things came from.
Yeah, because of course the vast majority of your collections will be archival based and document based.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I was talking about some of the things that you would normally be doing, like Archaeology Festival and school groups and all sorts of things. Obviously with COVID, kind of all of that came to a bit of an end temporarily. But one thing that you have continued to do throughout lockdown was hosting things on social media. So as well as the Learn with Lorna sessions, I've looked at some of your collections, but all sorts of other postings across your social media pages. And all of the offices have Facebook pages, but Skye and Lochalsh has always been a really, really popular one. You're up at nearly 9,000 followers. So can you tell, obviously people who are watching this will be familiar with it if they're looking already, but what sort of things you have on your Facebook page?
The majority of it is from our extensive photograph collection. We're very fortunate. We've got a really good mixture on there. We have been adding in more from our collections. So for example, we did a 2-week, I think it was, cover on the parish of Glendale. So we featured some rental records. So that really appealed to people who are on our page that are maybe researching family history, stuff that kind of goes out with records that can be found like National Records of Scotland. They're older, they kind of predate birth, death and marriage records. So it just gives a wee bit of an extra insight. So that's been really popular. That's generated lots of inquiries for us. So people are asking for more. We also did a week on police records, just highlighting the kind of social changes in Skye that you were seeing as well. So we mix it up. We try and keep lots of images, just people showing how things were in Skye, not just 100 years ago, but also maybe things, school pictures and stuff more recently. Gets a
I
good
think
conversation going.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a really interesting balance, because a lot of people associate us with things from 2, 3, 4, however many 100 years ago, which is great. That's what we want to be associated with. But it's lovely as well when you can share things like the school photographs or valuation rolls from 50 years ago or something. People that bring back all the memories for people of people they were at school with or who lived on their street, things like that.
Yeah, it's been a really great way to keep in contact. So if you think when you've done your Learn with Lorna sessions, the comments we're getting from people, they're kind of sharing their memories of these collections that we're now looking after, which has just been great. It's adding little bits on.
It was interesting when I did that Duncan Macpherson one about that great collection that you've got, that looking at the range of things from 150 years ago in a chemist shop or whatever it may be, to the memories that people have of his daughter in the 1960s.
Yeah, it was lovely.
That's lovely. It's a mixture of historical interest and people's living memories.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, social media platforms have been really helpful in keeping in contact with people. People messaging us, asking us, can we see more about different islands around Skye or different areas? So that's now given us a couple of focus points, which is great. People that live here requesting stuff. Yeah,
and lovely that we have people who connect with us who are based in the Highlands and people who connect with us from all across the world as well.
Yeah.
Fortunate to have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly just now when we can't have people in our buildings.
I know.
Although I'm saying that, but at the time we're recording this, we're at the end of August, and you will be opening fairly shortly. The Highland Archive Centre in Inverness opened today for the first time, and then you'll be opening shortly. So, by the time this goes out, this will go out on the 5th of September, so you'll already be open. But no, it'll be lovely to have people back in the buildings, although it'll be a wee bit different.
Yeah.
What sort of things do you think people will come in for? What sort of inquiries do you normally get?
What's normal?
Well, that's a very current question.
I know. Before COVID, inquiries. I mean, I think that's one of the best bits about the job is you never know who's going to come through the door, what kind of conversation you're going to have on the phone. They can be so various. You can get local-based community groups, heritage groups, local history groups coming in. Somebody coming in going, I found this. We had somebody had found a poem put up in a book last year and said, can you tell me about it? Got there in a few weeks. We found out who wrote it and who it was for. I think the projects that you do locally with people, that's great coming in because they can come in and see the space, they can access the records, they can really take ownership of what they're doing. We can just assist them, really. Yeah. We also get lots of musicians, artists, writers working on projects. It's quite an exciting variety. Just seeing how people use the archive as well, going through their kind of own creative process. Yeah. It'll be always interesting to see what they create at the end. And as we've discussed and touched on, with Skye's history, the kind of mass clearance, emigration, people are often in contact by coming in, by email, by phone, by Facebook. And a lot of that's kind of tracing ancestors, building on their version of their Scottish identity. Constant hunt for answers is usually a good inquiry for people.
Why did put that in the job description?
Aye, definitely. Yeah, there's always the questions. Why did they leave? Who were they? You know, we do find it great if we can locate the exact village where people left from, show them on a map where it was, and then just encourage them to go out and experience the environment in Skye while you're here as well. I think that's one of the things. It's just appreciating where the ancestors might have once stood. So that's the kind of mixture. Honestly, it could be anything. You can have somebody coming in asking about sheep to, a 17th century boat crash. You just never know. Honestly,
you're absolutely right though. That is the joy of the job.
Yeah.
Do you find that we were talking about the connection of handling the document? Do you find that transfers to other people when they come into your search room and they get to handle the document, that there's a real connection there and it makes it more real to them?
Yeah, absolutely. It can be quite emotional for people coming in, and that can be something, as you're saying, 50 years old to something that was 200 years old. We've seen that in collections where people have seen great-great-grandfather signatures on letters. Yeah. They've seen correspondence maybe in poor relief records about families. Also shipping records, why people were maybe put under immigration schemes as well. And it's just seeing that real destitution can be quite emotional for people. And then school records, they can bring out lots of hilarity in the room. We've had
Lots
that
of
before.
memories.
Lots and lots of good memories, and it's such, yeah, it's great hearing these conversations and then hearing their version of the story if it's something they remember.
Yeah.
They remember it happening. So it's always, yeah, it's good.
And one of the things you have often said to me is how much we learn from our users as well as them learning from our collections.
Oh, definitely. It's great. The people you meet doing this job are fantastic. It's really good.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the collections that you are particularly fond of.
Okay.
So this is, I've picked a couple of pictures and you've picked a couple of pictures.
Yeah.
I just thought this was a great photo of sheep wandering through Portree.
Yeah, so that's just at Wentworth Street, just on Summerled Square there. So that's from the Duncan Macpherson collection, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, aye. So yeah, it's a really good one. Popular one, I would say.
And as you were saying, lots of images within the collection. This one from Second World War. Of fishing. But yeah, lots of diversity within your photographic collections, both time and subject matter.
Yeah.
A classic image of Skye there.
Yeah, Blavin, that's beautiful, that one. I mean, that's probably still one of the most photographed locations on the island.
It's a stunning picture.
Yeah.
And really of course, one of the things you have focused on a lot in your time being with the service is the impact of tourism and changing tourism on Skye, because that was something you had an exhibition on.
Yeah, we did.
So those sorts of images are key to that. Yeah,
and they're so current still. I mean, some of them, will look slightly different today, but there's some locations still where it doesn't look that different. Just busier, more foot traffic.
Yeah.
See it. Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of the ones that you picked to put on.
Yeah, I mean, the Duncan Macpherson collection is stunning. We've got so many collections within it. This one, however, comes from the Lochalsh collection. So that photograph collection roughly dates 1890 to about 1920. This is taken down at Steen Inn, which is just down in Waternish. It's just local women at work, walking the Tweed. It's an absolute brilliant image. There's another one that we have, which looks like it was taken maybe just a couple hours later, and there's men in it. But this is just brilliant. Just wonder what we're talking about.
Again, one of the things that you and I have talked about a lot in our time working together is representing women in the collections, and often we don't hear their voices, or sometimes we don't hear their voices, and that's just a particularly beautiful picture of a group of women working. Yeah. Okay, so what about these two?
Again, the Peter McKinnon there, it's another one from the Waternish collection. It's just a striking image. He's a very interesting character. I think we'll probably do a profile on him sometime in the future. But just the image himself. He was born in 1828, and there we go. We've got an image of him with his medals on.
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah. And then this letter from North Uist is very descriptive. This, when we were going through I was actually getting some training at the time from a colleague of ours, and this came in the collection, and I just loved it. It's just the language within it, it just sticks with me. It's a very, I think you used it on a school project, Lorna, is that right? I did,
yeah. It's a very emotive sort of letter, isn't it, about the land that's been taken from them and how they want to have that land back.
I think it's just the tone still pulls at me, even though it was written in 1884. The way they're describing, the kind of wealthier people taking the land off them, and the kind of impact that had on sending people away. It's just, I think it's still quite relevant to current issues we have today, which is a great thing that we can use archives, is getting conversations going with people.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've used our collections across the offices to start all kinds of conversations about immigration, about wealth, equality, racism, all sorts of things, mental health. We're so fortunate, you're absolutely right, to be able to use these collections to start those conversations that are so current and so important just now. And I think, again, that letter is maybe a voice, again, that's not always heard.
Yeah. This one's actually signed on the other side of it. It's actually signed by the Crofters from North Uist as well, which is quite unique in its own right. It's just so descriptive. It's such a beautifully written letter, considering the kind of hardship they were going through at the time, claiming back kind of ancestral home. But it's really difficult when you ask me, think of your favourite things within the collection, because police records are one of my favourite as well.
Oh, everybody loves a police record. I should kind of preface this by saying that there are closure records on police records, in case anybody's panicking listening to us.
Yeah, I think just for me, you see the kind of social change and shift. I was just looking at the ones in Portree recently. They were written in 1883, some of them I was looking at. And you see the kind of change in daily life. So things like, people are getting acts like the sudden accidents and deaths, as grim as it sounds, can show so much in one tiny area. And you also see people that were passing through the place. That might have been people that were travelling on holiday, workmen, tradesmen, people coming on and off boats. You get a good idea of kind of
social history
here. And then you see that shift certainly after the Second World War. You see a shift. You also see more women climbing here, more women having smaller climbing accidents, and that kind of increase in tourism as well. But yes, you're saying these collections, like the police records, they do open up conversations, different dynamics around what was going on, how people were treated. So it's just how we can use them now to kind of maybe create a bit of positive change, get people chatting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, you'll have gathered Catherine and I both believe in getting people chatting. That's something we share.
I think one of the main things of our collections here is we've got lots of small estate collections and records, but they all kind of weave together. You can see the communities kind of weaving between them. Linking up the different islands that surround us, different parishes, and through that you can see everything, from education, food production, marriages, clearance, landowners, chatting
the whole
about
spectrum of life.
I mean,
I think really good. Across all our offices we hold local authority records, obviously, so we hold the records of the Highland Council, and if you put those, like the education records, the valuation rules, that sort of thing, hand in hand with the deposited collections of individual stories and families and estates and things like that, businesses and things, you get a really wide view of what was happening across the community. Definitely. Yeah, it's really good. There's even ones that we've got where it shows things like garden planting designs, when they were building their houses. Wow. Later on. So yeah. Oh, there's one from the archaeology collection we've got. Yeah, so this was the last image that we were going to chat over, because as we said, it's really unusual for an archive centre to have an archaeological collection, but you do, as you explained, because of the legacy of it being from the museum service. Yeah. So what do you love about this one? Do you know, I think it's hard to kind of see the size of it. It's so delicate as well. So it's made of bronze and you can see some detailing on there. This image is on Ambala, if you want one that you can zoom in on as well. You can see just the tiny details and where the clasps kind of join together at the narrowest part. When you hold it in your hand, you can see all these little indents. And just the care and how delicate it was, and just to think that somebody was wearing that, 10th century on Skye. So it's up in Lochalsh, which is up near Staffin. And again, that's something that kind of spans across the document collections, all of the collections, is just the fact that someone took the care to produce the item, the document, and then people ever since have protected it and looked after it, and that's now our role to do that. Yeah. There's a few beautiful items like this. It was really hard to pick one, but I think for myself, this is one I really like. Of course, there's the one from Ashig, which is the Viking Age find, which is just stunning as well. But this one's it's the detail on this one I love. Yeah, the delicacy. Yeah. And as Catherine said, if you're interested in finding out more about this or any of the other collections in Skye and Lochalsh, our website, www.ambala.org.uk, so that's AMBAILE. .org.uk has a lot of great images from the Skye and Lochalsh collections, and tomorrow I'll be talking to Jamie, who is the Ambala coordinator, a bit more about how that works and how you can find things on there. Is there anything pressing you want to say, Catherine, about archives, why they're important? Anything before I hang up on you and wish you goodbye? I just think, even though, we're good, it's a strange time for us all to be in, but they're still accessible. You can still speak to us, and they're for everyone. That's the main thing. That is the bottom line. That's the bottom line. They are for everyone. And get in touch if you've got a question, because undoubtedly, if I can't find an answer, one of my colleagues might have an answer in the other archives. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would echo all of that. Do get in touch with us, and we would love to try and help you and share our collections with you. Definitely. Thanks, Catherine. Thank you.